All right, let's go on the record in the Winslow case. The record will reflect that we are meeting outside the presence of the jury. All counsel and Mr. Winslow are present. We are meeting in open court. The courtroom is open to the public. We received let's back up. Earlier today, the clerk received via email a request from Ms. Barr that the court re-admonish the jury regarding not watching the media accounts. Is that correct? And I denied the request after the clerk sent it to all counsel. I've admonished them numerous times not to watch the media, and I did not feel it would be appropriate to interrupt their deliberations and bring them here in open court and admonish them. But now that they're going to be here anyway, I will admonish them further. Do you have anything else you want to add to that, Ms. Barr? No. Okay. And then with respect to note number 2, the court did receive note number 2. It states, can we please get a readback of Jane Doe number 4's testimony as well as Nicole Edwards' testimony? That request is going to be granted. It's going to be read here in open court. Mr. Winslow did not waive his right to be present during the readback, and it is his right to be present. So we will bring the jury in for the readback. Stephanie has prepared the readback. She has removed any stricken testimony, any sidebars, any objections. There's also a couple of points where we're going over the page numbers and transcripts. She's not going to read that. It doesn't really pertain to the witness's testimony. So she will read that back. It's the court's custom to have the readback of the testimony done in its entirety. And I know counsel and I just discussed that in chambers. There is an option to having her stop when the jury so indicates, but the defense wants all the testimony read. Is that correct, Mr. Carlos? Yes. All right. Any objection to that, Mr. Owens?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so the testimony of both witnesses will be read in their entirety.
Your Honor, can I ask that you said that the page numbers and transcripts refer, we're talking about previous testimony?
From the preliminary hearing.
Okay.
It's mostly between counsel when counsel was asking what page, and the court was asking which page and line number as well. Do you want that included?
Well, when I'm asking the witness a question and I'm referring to previous testimony, I'm referring to a page and line. Isn't that correct?
From the preliminary hearing, and it's for the court's benefit and Mr. Owens' benefit, because I have the transcript on my computer and I would follow along. So, do you want her to read the page numbers?
Yeah,
we're spending more time arguing about it than it would have taken for her to just to go ahead and read them. So,
because we're talking about a previous testimony referred to in the sworn testimony. I think it might be.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, then I'll have the court reporter read those page lines and numbers. I'm going to instruct the jurors not to have any discussions while they're here in open court because they are not to deliberate unless they are by themselves. Also, the next question, it's not really a question, it's a statement. We are missing exhibit number 154. That is the exhibit that was excluded. It was marked and not admitted, and I will explain that to them. All right? Are there any further requests before we bring in the jury? All right, let's bring them in. All right, we are back on the record. We are now meeting in the presence of the jury. All 12 jurors are present. Again, Mr. Winslow and all counsel are present. I received jury note number 2, signed by juror number 6. Are you the foreperson? Yes? Okay, so the note reads, can we please get a readback of Jane Doe number 4's testimony as well as Nicole Edwards' testimony? Then it says also we are missing exhibit number 154. Can we please get that? So I called you into open court here today for a couple reasons. We're going to address the note, but before I do that, I want to, I know I've told you this several times, but now is very critical. You have to avoid all media contact. Don't watch any media accounts of this. As you can imagine, there's a lot of anxiety about the verdict, and there's people commenting on it. It's very important at this crucial stage that you avoid reading anything or watching any coverage whatsoever. Also, if you become aware of any other juror that happens to be watching something or they talk about some news coverage they saw, you have to bring that to the court's attention as well. So please be extra vigilant. I know you have been throughout the course of the trial, but at this point, it's extremely important that you stand by that admonishment. All right, first of all, with respect to exhibit number 154, that exhibit was marked and it was discussed, but it was not received in evidence. So I know in the note you said you're missing it. It was not an error. It does not go back into the jury room. There was some discussion about what was said, and that's a printout of the text messages. So you don't actually get the printout, but there was testimony about the printout, and that is certainly admissible. And you're going to hear the readback regarding both Jane Doe number 4 and Nicole Edwards, where they discussed the contents of exhibit number 154, but that exhibit did not go back into evidence, and you will not be receiving it. Now, with respect to the readback, the court reporter, Stephanie, has gone through the transcript. I know we were going to start at 1:30, but it took a little more time than she thought it would, and she worked through lunch getting the transcript ready to go. So I apologize for the slight delay, but we want to make sure that everything is in order before we read it back to you. That includes removing any testimony that was stricken. If it was stricken, we don't want to read it back to you during readback. So as I said before, it takes a long time to get it ready. But Stephanie is ready with the readback. We will read back first the testimony from Jane Doe number 4. Stephanie will read straight through. She's going to read all of the testimony, which will include the direct and cross-examination and any redirect or recross, and then she will do the same for Nicole Edwards' testimony. It's important that you not discuss the case with each other during the readback. During readback, you are only to listen. You can't talk about it with each other because you can only deliberate when the 12 of you are together back in the jury room and only in the jury room. So as I said before, even if all 12 of you go to lunch, you can't talk about the case because you're not in the jury room and you're not in a quiet place. So that includes the courtroom. You cannot deliberate while you're here. You cannot discuss the case with each other at this time either. So what we're going to do now is I will go off the record, and Stephanie will begin by reading Jane Doe number 4's testimony, followed by Nicole Edwards. All right, anything from the people at this point, Mr. Owens? No, thank you. Anything from the defense? All right, then we will go off the record, and Stephanie will begin to read back.
Direct examination of Jane Doe 4 by Mr. Owens. Good morning, Jane Doe 4. Answer, good morning. Question, I'm going to refer to you as Jane Doe 4. I apologize if that makes you uncomfortable in any way. Answer, okay. Question, now how old are you as of today? Answer, I am 33. Question, where do you live? Without giving the specific address, but generally speaking, where do you live? Answer, in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Question, are you married? Answer, yes. Question, what does your husband do? Answer, he is a Marine. He is in the aviation field. Question, are you stationed there with the Marine Corps currently? Answer, yes. Question, do you have any children? Answer, I do. Question, how many children do you have? Answer, I have 2. Question, what are their ages? Answer, 1 and 3. Question, now in terms of where you've lived over the course of your life, at some point did you live in the San Diego area? Answer, I did. Question, did you move out of the San Diego area after high school? Answer, yes. Question, where did you move? Answer, Hawaii. Question, and after being in Hawaii, is that where you met your husband? Answer, yes. Question, being a military wife, have you moved around a lot? Answer, yes. Question, in terms of where you lived in high school, first, what high school did you go to? Answer, I went to 2 different high schools. I went to Mount Carmel and Escondido High School. Question. When you were a senior in high school or your last year here in California, what high school were you going to? Answer, Escondido High School. Question. So in terms of when you were in Escondido, did you still stay friends with people that you had met who went to Mount Carmel or other high schools in the area? Answer, yes. Question. Now, when was it that you moved to Hawaii in relation to your senior year? Answer, July of 2003. Question. How old were you in June of 2003? Answer, 17. Question. Had you already planned to move to Hawaii that summer? Answer, yes. Question. What was the reason that you would be moving to Hawaii that summer? Answer. I was behind a semester in my senior year, and because I would be turning 18 over the summer, the Poway district, or not Poway district, the Escondido district stated that I would have to go to adult education and get my GED. And I wanted my diploma, so my mom suggested me going to stay with family in Hawaii. Question. Is that what you ended up doing in July 2003? Answer, yes. Question. So in terms of the last year that you were physically here in California, is it fair to say that was the spring semester 2003? Answer, yes. Question. And during that time frame, did you ever meet a person who you came to know by the name of Kellen Winslow? Answer, yes. Question. Do you see Mr. Winslow in court? Answer, yes. Question. Where is he seated and what is he wearing for the record? Answer. He is wearing a gray suit and glasses. The court. All right, with the yellowish tie? The witness. I can only see the monitor. The court. That's right. Okay, so he has glasses on? All right, the record will reflect identification of the defendant. The witness. Yes. Mr. Owens, thank you, Your Honor. Question. How did you first meet Mr. Winslow? Answer, through mutual friends at a party. Question. Where was this party when you first met him? Answer, at Scripps Ranch. Question. Can you describe the party as best you can? I know it's been some time, but when you first met him, just describe the location and what was going on. Answer. So it was just a house party, high school kids hanging out in somebody's home. Question. And you mentioned it was in the Scripps Ranch area. Do you remember what type of house it was when you first met him? Answer. It was like a ranch house, just one-story home. Question. About how many people would you say were at the party? Answer. More than 20, I would like to say. Question. Were you drinking that night? Answer. No. Question. On the night that you first met Mr. Winslow, who were the mutual friends, if you remember what their names were? Answer. So, Nikki Edwards, Chris Rios, and Mel John Sebastian. Yeah. Question. And the person that you mentioned is Nikki Edwards, is that Nicole Edwards? Answer. Yes. Question. Does she go by the nickname Nikki? Answer. Yes. Question. And the other person you mentioned was Chris. Do you recall his last name? Answer. Rios. Question. And you mentioned another male. What was his name? Answer. Meljohn. Question. Can you spell that if you know? Answer. Meljohn. Question. And on that time when you first met him, how is it that you knew these mutual friends? Answer. Well, Nikki I went to school with at Mount Carmel before going to Escondido High School, so we have been friends since freshman year. She was seeing Meljohn at the time, or talking, and Meljohn's sister was the one that was dating Chris Rios. Question. And did you know Meljohn or Chris very well? Answer. No. Question. Was Nicole or Nikki the person who was kind of the mutual friend in common? Answer. Yes. Question. And how was it that you were introduced to Mr. Winslow that night? Answer. He was hanging out with Chris Rios and Meljohn. Question. And was that the first time you had ever actually seen him? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you know anything about him when you met him that night? Answer. No. Question. Did you know what school he went to? Answer. No. Question. Did you know if he was in high school or college? Answer. No. Question. How was it that you were introduced to him? Answer. We were all just standing around and saying hi. Who are you? Just mutual introduction. Question. Do you remember if he introduced himself to you? Answer. I don't remember. Question. So then tell us what happened after you first met him that night at the party with about 20 people there. Answer. We were all just hanging out, chit-chatting, drinking, just talking and having fun hanging out with people. Question. Now initially you said that you hadn't been drinking. Was that at the time that you first met Mr. Winslow? Answer. Yeah, I hadn't been drinking. Nicole and I know Mel John had been drinking. Later into the evening, do you remember if you had any alcohol? Answer. No, I did not. Question. After you guys were hanging out at the first house party, what happened? Answer. We ended up going to one of Chris and Kellan's friends' house. Question. And do you remember what part of town that was in? Answer. In Scripps. Question. Do you remember what month this was that you first met Kellan at this party that first night? Answer. In June. Question. And it was towards the end of the school year? Answer. Yes. Question. And was there any particular occasion for this first party that you met him at? Answer. I believe it was a graduation party. We would all hear about certain people's graduation parties, but not necessarily know who the person was. Question. When you would make plans to go out for the evening, would you basically just go look for whatever party you could find as a high schooler? Answer. Yeah. Question. And as you were leaving this first party, you mentioned you were going to a house that Mr. Winslow and Chris knew of. Is that right? Answer. Correct. Question. Did Miss Edwards, Nikki Edwards, did she go with you? Answer. Yes. Question. Can you tell us if you remember how you got from the first party to the next house? Answer. We were in Nikki's vehicle and we just followed them. Question. Do you remember what type of car Nikki drove? Answer. She drove a Ford Explorer. Question. And when you say that you followed them, who is it that you and Nikki followed? Me and Nikki and Mel John was in the car with us, followed Chris and Kellan, and I don't know who else was in the car with them. Question. And what type of place did you go to after you followed them? Answer. To somebody's 2-story home. Question. That was also in Scripps Ranch? Answer. Correct. Question. Do you know whose home it was? Answer. I did not. Question. When you got there, was anybody else present? Answer. Yes. Question. How many people would you say were at this second home that you went to? Answer. A handful. Question. A smaller gathering maybe than the first party? Answer. Yes. Question. Would you characterize it as an after party? Answer. Correct. Question. What time in the evening would you say this was, approximately? Answer. Past 11 o'clock at night. Question. When you and Nikki got there, do you remember where you went? Answer. We were hanging out, I want to say, in the living room. We were just sitting around hanging out. Question. Who was there in the living room when you were there hanging out? Answer. Me and Nikki, Mel John, Chris, Kellan. I don't know who else the other people were. Question. Do you remember any of the names of the other people who were present? Answer. His friend Matt. Question. And when you say his friend, who are you referring to? Answer. Kellan. Question. Can you just describe your interaction with Kellan through the night from the point you first met him to where you're now hanging out in the living room? Answer. Just, I want to say light flirting, sitting close, nudging each other, just kind of being silly, flirty teenagers. Question. When you had met him, did you think he was attractive? Answer. Yes. Question. When you say that you were flirty, were you being flirtatious with him? Answer. Not initially. Question. Was he being flirtatious with you? Answer. Yes. Question. Once he had started to be flirtatious with you, did you respond? Answer, yes. Question, was that what you mean by not initially? Answer, yes. Question, so when you say that you were being flirtatious, what were you doing? Answer, just nudging back, leaning in, not anything like, hey, we should blah, blah, blah. Just, kind of being nudging and touchy like with my arm. Question, were there other people around you when you were hanging out in the living room doing that? Answer, yes. Question, what happened after you started with this initial being flirty? Answer, I don't know specific words or how it came to, but me and him ended up walking upstairs to a bedroom. Question, did you go on your own free will? Answer, yes. Question, did you decide you wanted to go upstairs with him? Answer, yes. Question, tell us what happened when you went upstairs with him. Answer, we started making out, clothes started to be removed. We were kissing and touching, starting to have sex, and the door opened. Question, when you say that we were starting to have sex, did you actually begin to have sex with Mr. Winslow? Answer, yes. Question, does that mean penile vaginal intercourse? Answer, yes. Question, were you basically hooking up with somebody you had just met? Answer, yes. Question, now after that happened, the door opening, what do you remember seeing? Answer, his friend Matt walking in. Question, and the friend Matt, did you know that person from before? Answer, no. Question, had you ever seen him before? Answer, no. Question, other than seeing him at this after party, the house that you were at, was he at the previous party if you know? Answer, not that I remember. Question, what happened after Matt walked into the bedroom? Answer, he walked in as if he was grabbing something and just closed the door behind him, and I was like covering myself, and I was like, well, like what's going on? And he, Kellan, says, he's just going to watch. And I said, I'm not okay with that. Question, what happened after you told Kellan that you weren't okay with Matt being in the room and watching? Answer, he was like, it's going to be fine. He's just watching. And I told him, no, I'm not okay with that. So I was starting to grab my clothes and put them back on, and I just wanted to get out of the room. Question, were you upset? Answer, yes. Question, what happened, or in terms of Matt, was he still present in the room when you were having this conversation with Kellan, if you remember? Answer, yes. Question, who left the room first? Answer, Matt did. Question, after you told Kellan that you were uncomfortable with it, did he try to continue having sex with you? Answer, he's like, are you going to let me finish? I said no. Question, and what happened after that? Answer, he said fine, and I put my clothes back on and I went downstairs. Question, can you describe his demeanor when you told him that you were not going to let him finish? Answer, he was just like, okay, and like just pushed back, like away from me. Question, who left the room first between you and Mr. Winslow? Answer, I did. Question, do you remember where you went? Answer, I went back downstairs. Question, and where downstairs did you go after this initial upstairs moment with Mr. Winslow? Answer, back into the living room where Nikki was. Question, where was Nikki in relation to the living room? What was she doing? Answer, she was sitting on the couch. Question, do you remember who else was there? Answer, I don't. Question, so then what did you do when you saw Nikki on the couch? Answer, I sat down next to her. Question, can you describe your demeanor at that point? Answer, just like annoyed and wanting to leave. Question, when you say that you were wanting to leave, what did you say, if anything? Answer, I just asked, Nikki, can we go? Question, how did she respond, if you know? Answer, she just looked at me like, why? I was just like, can we just go? Question, how long would you say you had been at this second house this first night? Answer, from the beginning, less than an hour. Question, Now, when you told Nikki that you wanted to go, what did she do? Answer. She was like, okay, we'll go. We'll leave. Question. Did you? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you say anything else to Mr. Winslow that night? Answer. No. Question. Do you remember if he was downstairs when you and Nikki left? Answer. I don't remember. Question. Did you say anything to anybody else before you left? Answer. No. Question. Did Nikki appear to be confused? Answer. Yes. Question. When you left that night, where did you go? Answer. We went back to Nicole's house. Question. Did you sleep there? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you talk to her at all, if you remember, about what happened? Answer. No. I just told her I was not okay, and that was it. Question. Now, was Miss Edwards, Nikki, was she in the living room when you and Kellan left together to go upstairs? Answer. Yes. Question. Would she have seen that you and Kellan went upstairs together? Answer. Yes. Question. Would she have seen when you came back down by yourself? Answer. Yes. Question. Now, after that first night when you met Mr. Winslow, did you see him again? Answer. Yes. Question. Approximately how much time passed before you saw Mr. Winslow again after this first night? Answer. Like 2 weeks. Question. Did you have any communication with him or phone calls or text messages at all? Answer. I did not. Question. And if the first night was in June of 2003, when was the second night, do you recall? Answer. In June as well. Question. Do you remember what day of the week it was? Answer. A Friday. Question. Do you recall the specific date? Answer. I want to say the 20th. Question. And in terms of when that happened, did you actually speak with the district attorney's investigators at your home in North Carolina last July? Answer. Yes. Question. And when we were sitting down and discussing the time frames, did you use a calendar to refresh your recollection of when you first met him and when the second interaction you had with him was? Answer. Yes. Question. Now, how is that you arrived at the date of June 20th based on your best recollection? Nope, sorry. Now, is that how you arrived at the date of June 20th based on your best recollection? Answer. Yes. Now, the second night, had you talked to anybody about what happened with Mr. Winslow the first night? Answer. No. Question. Did you have any interaction with him at all? Answer. No. Question. Where were you when you saw him on June 20th, 2003? Answer. We were at a graduation party in Scripps Ranch. Question. Was it a similar situation to the first time you had met him? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you remember, was it at the same house or a different one? Answer. A different home. Question. How was it that you had come to know that there was going to be a party at this home on June 20th? Answer. A lot of us teenagers would hang out at Jack in the Box in Mira Mesa and kind of like wait around until somebody got a phone call to where they would hear a party was or who could go to certain parties. And that's where we found out about this party in Scripps. Question. When you were at Jack in the Box and you were waiting to hear where a party might be, who was there with you if you remember? Answer. Me and Nicole. Question. Were you and Nicole typically a pair? You would be going out together? Answer. Yes. Question. When you were at Jack in the Box, did you catch word that there was a party? Answer. She did, yes. Question. So what did you do? Answer. We got into her car and drove to whatever directions that was given to her. Question. Did other people at the Jack in the Box also go? Answer. Yes. Question. This party that you were at on June 20th, how many people would you say were there? Answer. About 20. At least 20. Question. That night when you got to this party, were you drinking any alcohol? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you remember what you were drinking, first of all? Answer. I was drinking beer. Question. Do you remember what type of beer? Answer, no. Question, where did you get the beer? Answer, there was a keg at the home. Question, do you remember how many beers that you would have drank while you were at this house in Scripps Ranch? Answer, I want to say like 2 or 3. Can I ask you first how tall you were, maybe in June of 2003? Answer, 5'2". Question, and how much did you weigh when you were 17 back in 2003? Answer, 92 pounds. Question, after having those 3 beers, did you start to feel the effects of alcohol at all? Answer, not like instantly as if I were taking a shot or anything, but like gradually I was feeling buzzed. Question, how much time would you say you spent at this house party in Scripps Ranch when you first got there? Answer, it was less than an hour. Question, do you recall whether or not you saw any mutual friends of yours and Kellan's that night? Answer, we saw Chris. Question, and was Chris actually at the party? Answer, yes. Question, did you ever see Kellan that night? Answer, yes. Question, where was he? Answer, with Chris. Question, was this the same Chris who had been there 2 weeks prior? Answer, yes. Question, now how was it, if you know, how was it that Nikki knew Chris, if at all? Answer, I'm sorry? Question, did you know if Nikki knew Chris? Answer, she did know Chris. Question, do you know how she knew Chris? Answer, she knew Chris through Meljohn. Question, and Meljohn would be the person that she was talking to or seeing at the time? Answer, yes. Question, now was Meljohn there the second night? Answer, no. Question, and what happened when you saw Kellan at this party? Answer, well, as we were leaving, they had come up and saw us, so we waved them down. Question, when you say we were leaving, who are you referring to? Answer, me and Nicole. Question, and when you and Nicole were leaving this party, who was it that you saw that you waved down? Answer, we saw Chris. Question, and was he with Mr. Winslow? Answer, he was with Mr. Winslow. Question, tell us what happened after you waved at Mr. Winslow. Answer, so we waved at Chris. Chris had told Kellan and their friend Matt to come. They walked towards us and asked us what was going on. Question, and can you just tell us what plans you guys made once you had that initial conversation? Answer, so we were leaving because there were police. We were told that there were police showing up to the party to shut it down. Question, is that something that would happen on occasion when you were in high school? Answer, yes. Question, where were you planning to go when you and Nicole were leaving? Answer, we weren't sure yet. Question, when you saw this group of guys, including Mr. Winslow, did you make any plans to go to another location? Answer, we asked each other where we were thinking of going but weren't sure, but we knew we needed to leave, so we said let's meet at a gas station. Question, did you do that? Answer, yes. Question, how did you get to the gas station? Answer, me and Nikki and Chris got into her Ford Explorer. Question, and do you remember where you were sitting in relation in that Ford Explorer? Answer, the front seat, the passenger front seat. Question, and who drove? Answer, Nicole. Question, and you said you had 3 beers. Did you have any other alcohol prior to leaving that party? Answer, I did not. Question, what happened after you and Chris and Nikki got into her Ford Explorer? Answer, we drove to a gas station. Question, where were Matt and Kellan if you know? Answer, in a car following us or a vehicle following us. Question, do you remember what type of car it was that they were in? Answer, they were in a SUV. Question, what color was it? Answer, a black SUV. Question, and do you remember who was driving it? Answer, I believe Kellan was. Question, where did you go? Answer, we went to a Shell gas station. Question, What did you do once you got to the gas station? Answer, we got out. Nikki was fueling her vehicle and Kellen was fueling his. Me, Chris, and Matt were going back and forth. We were like parked next to each other, so we kind of, oops, sorry. We were going back and forth and just chit-chatting with one another, like, hey, have you heard anything? Do you know where we could go next? Things like that. Question. Fair to say that this was a second staging area trying to figure out a new party to go to? Answer, yes. Question, just like at the Jack in the Box? Answer, correct. Question. When you were sitting there and you were chit-chatting, did you talk to Mr. Winslow at all about, where he went to school or anything like that? Answer, no. Question. And if we're 2 weeks removed from when you had first met him and had that interaction in the bedroom upstairs, were you being flirtatious with him at all on this night? Answer, no. Question. Was he being flirtatious with you at all? Answer, no. Question. Can you tell us what happened once you were at the gas station and trying to figure out where to go next? Answer. So Kellan stated that they knew of a house party, and we said, okay, well, let's just go. Chris then received a phone call from his girlfriend, Joanna, and she was getting into a fight at another party and wanted to go there to make sure that she was okay. Question. So what happened when Chris had received this phone call and was going to a different location from where Kellan had suggested you go? Answer. Chris asked Nikki or Nicole if we could go there, and Nicole said yeah. Question. What did you do? Answer. I was talking with Kellan and Matt and everybody pretty much. All of us were standing there, and I said, I'm going to hop in with them and just meet you guys at the party, at the new house party that Kellan was speaking of. Question. Did you think that Nikki and Chris were going to actually meet you back at that next house party that Kellan had suggested? Answer. Yes. Question. After they went to go see what was happening with Joanna? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you ride with Mr. Winslow in his vehicle? Answer. I did. Question. And you mentioned that that was a black SUV of some sort. Do you recall what specific type of vehicle it was? Answer. I don't remember. Mr. Owens. I'll show you what's been marked for identification as Court's Exhibit 4. Do you recognize this photograph? Answer, I do. Question, can you tell us what that's a photograph of? Answer, that is a picture of me and Kellan in the vehicle he was driving that night. Question, do you remember who took this picture? Answer, Nicole. Question, when you were in high school, would you and Nicole take pictures regularly of your nights out? Answer, yes. The court, is that a yes? The witness, yes. So, Ms. Doe, did you in fact keep this picture afterwards? Answer, I did. Question, do you remember what time in the evening or when in the evening you took it? Answer, at the gas station. I don't remember the time that it was. Question, and that picture of Mr. Winslow, was he seated in the vehicle that you rode in that night? Answer, yes. Question, what type of camera was this picture taken on? Answer, one of those turn cameras, so it's one of those disposable cameras. Question, and if Nicole took the picture, was it your camera or hers if you remember? Answer, it was mine. Question, did you develop the photos? Answer, I did. Question, why is it that you kept this picture? To remind myself that anything's possible, that somebody can harm you thinking that there may have been a misunderstanding. Question, at the time that this picture was taken, did you feel like you were safe with Mr. Winslow? Answer, I did. Question, can you tell us what happened after you got into his car and left the gas station? Answer, we drove, I don't know exactly where, I just know it was in the Scripps area. We drove to a townhome. Question, and when you got to this townhome, do you remember how many people were there, if any? Answer, there wasn't anybody there. Question, when you say we drove from the gas station to the townhome, who was in the vehicle if you remember? Answer, me, Kellan, and Matt. Question, and who drove? Answer, Kellan. Question, where did you sit? Answer, the front seat. the front passenger seat. Question. Is it fair to say Matt was in the back seat? Answer. Yes. Question. Can you tell us what happened when you first got to this townhome? Answer. I don't remember walking into the home. I do remember being in the bathroom, washing my hands, and trying to sober up. Question. Were you feeling the effects of the alcohol that you had drank? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you recall drinking anything other than the 3 beers you had at the first party you were at? Answer. No. Question. Did you have anything to drink during the car ride from the gas station to this townhome? Answer. No. Question. Do you remember if Matt or Kellan were drinking anything in the car ride to the townhome? Answer. No. Question. Were they, or do you not remember? Answer. I don't remember. Question. Now, in terms of what you recall happening when you were at the townhome, why did you go to the restroom? Answer. Because I felt the need to, put some water on my face, drink some water, use the restroom, kind of get it together because I was feeling the effects of the beer. Question. Did you feel drunk at that point? Answer. Yes. Question. Now, once you had gotten to the townhome, other than Matt and Kellan, did you see anybody else? Answer. No. Question. After being in the bathroom, or let me ask you, when you were in the bathroom, what happened? Answer. Kellan knocked on the door and told me to hurry up. Question. What did you do when you heard him knock on the door and say, hurry up? Answer. I finished washing my hands and opened the door. Question. Where did you go? Answer. To the couch. I don't remember walking to the couch. I just remember sitting on the couch. Question. Where were Matt and Kellan, if you know? Answer. In the kitchen. Question. And do you actually recall what they were doing in the kitchen? Answer. No. Question. What do you remember happening when you were sitting on the couch? Answer. I just remember looking at the fabric. I just remember looking at the color of the couch. Question. What happened after you were looking at the fabric on the couch? Answer. I opened my eyes and my face was being pushed into Matt's groin area. Question. Prior to that memory of opening your eyes, do you know what happened while you were on the couch in the downstairs area of the townhome? Answer. No. Question. Do you know if you fell asleep? Answer. No. Question. Were you conscious between when you were on the couch to when you felt yourself being pushed into Matt's groin area? Answer. No. Question. Do you know how you got from the couch to the place where your face was being pushed in Matt's groin area? Answer. No. Question. Where were you when you woke up to that, or when you came to? Answer. It was in a bedroom on a bed. Question. Do you remember if that was upstairs or downstairs? Answer. I don't know. I don't remember. Question. Do you know how you got from the couch to the bedroom, being on a bed? Answer. No. Question. When you say that your face was being pushed into Matt's groin area, who was pushing you? Answer. Kellan. Question. How was Mr. Winslow pushing you into Matt's groin area? Answer. From behind. Question. Do you remember what part of his body he was using to push your face into Matt's area? Answer. His hand. Question. Where was he pushing you with his hand? Answer. His hand was on the back of my head. Mr. Owens. Your Honor, for the record, she's taking her right hand and placing it on the back of her head with an open palm pressing downward. The Court. The record will so reflect. Question. Now, what was Kellan doing at the time he was pressing your head towards Matt's groin area? Answer. He was penetrating me from behind. Question. Was he having sex with you? Answer. Yes. Question. Was he having sex with you at the time that you regained consciousness? Answer. Yes. Question. And I'm sorry to ask you, but how was it that he was having sex with you? Where? Answer. I'm sorry, what do you... Question. What part of his body was penetrating what part of your body? Answer. His penis was penetrating my vagina. Question. When you were on the bed, you mentioned that he was doing this from behind. Is that right? Answer, yes. Question, was Matt lying on the bed? Answer, yes. Question, when you say that Kellan was having sex with you from behind and pushing your head towards Matt's groin, was Matt's penis exposed? Answer, yes. Question, did he have his pants off? Answer, yes. Question, did you have any memory prior to waking up to this happening? Answer, no. Question, what was Matt doing? Answer, Matt was just laying there with his legs open. Question, were you facing him? Answer, yes. Question, what was Kellan saying, if anything, at that point? Answer, I don't remember. I can't, the only thing is just my view. I don't hear anything. Question, what did you do when you regained consciousness and you felt Mr. Winslow doing this to you? Answer, telling him to stop. Question, did you actually say that out loud? Answer, yes. Question, do you remember what you said when you were telling him to stop? Answer, just stop, just stop. Question, did you become upset? Answer, yes. Question, were you crying if you know? Answer, yes. Question, was he being forceful with you? Answer, yes. Question, how was he holding you, if at all, while he was having sex with you from behind? Answer, he was holding onto my hair, and I'm pushing with both of my hands just to get this guy to stop, and I just keep telling him to stop. The court, the record will reflect that the witness put both of her hands on each side of her body with her palms facing backwards, about even with her waist, and pushing in a backwards motion with both hands. Mr. Owens, thank you, Your Honor. Question, when you were telling him to stop and pressing your hands against his thighs, were you trying to make him stop having sex with you? Answer, yes. Question, did he continue to penetrate you vaginally with his penis from behind? Answer, yes. Question, do you remember if he said anything while you were telling him to stop? Answer, no. Question, what did Matt do as you were telling Kellan, Mr. Winslow, to stop and pushing against him? Matt got up and was telling him to just stop, and then Kellan flipped me onto my back. Question, when you say that Kellan flipped you onto his back, how did he do that? Answer, he turned me over. I just know he turns me over. I don't know which way, but I'm now laying on my back on the bed. Question, if you were 5'2" and 92 pounds in June of 2003, was he bigger than you? Answer, yes. Question, how tall would you say he was? Answer, like 6 foot or taller. Question, was he strong? Answer, yes. Question, was it easy for him to flip you from facing downwards to being on your back? Yes. After he flipped you onto your back, were you lying on the bed? Answer, yes. Question, had you been telling him no during this time? Answer, yes. Question, after Matt got up and you heard him tell Kellan to stop, is that when Kellan flipped you onto your back? Answer, yes. Question, what happened after he did that? Answer, I kept telling him to stop, and then I turned my head to the left because somebody was there holding a camera. Question, based on your best memory, do you recall seeing somebody hold a camera inside the bedroom when this happened? Answer, when I initially came to, no. Question, when you're saying that you looked to the left when you were lying on your back, do you remember seeing a camera? Answer, yes. Question, do you know if Matt was still in the room? Answer, no. Question, what did Kellan do after he'd put you onto your back? Answer, he kept going, and I just kept saying, stop, just stop. Question, and you're taking both your hands and you've crossed them into an X in front of your chest and you're pushing it outward? Answer, I'm sorry? Question, you're pushing your arms outward, is that right? Answer, yes. Question, did you continue to tell him to stop? Answer, yes. Question, when you say that he kept doing it, what was he doing? Answer, he was still having sex with me. Question, now that he's having sex with you, are you facing each other? Answer, yes. Question, what happened after he continued having sex with you as you were on your back? Answer, he stops. Question, do you know why he stopped? Because Matt. Matt told him to stop. Just stop. Question, after Matt told him to stop, did Kellan finally stop having sex with you? Answer, yes. Question, did he say anything to you when he stopped? Answer, no. Question, what happened after you saw Matt telling Mr. Winslow to stop? Answer, Kellan gets off of me and moves to my right, and then I see somebody else standing behind him that wasn't Matt. Question, did Kellan leave the room? Answer, yes. Question, what happened after Kellan left the room? Answer, Matt started to help me get dressed. Question, after Matt started to help you get dressed, did Kellan come back into the room at all? Answer, he looked, I don't know if he came in fully, but I know he came in back and he says, she's just a stupid bitch, and then closes the door. Question, do you know if he was talking to you or talking to Matt? Answer, I don't know. We took a recess. Question. So, Ms. Doe, you were just telling us that after Kellan had stopped, had left the room, and came back in and made a comment towards you, and Matt began to help you put your clothes back on. Is that right? Answer, yes. Question. After Matt helped you put your clothes on, did you see Kellan again that night? Answer, no. Question. Do you know where he went after saying, she's just a stupid bitch, and leaving? Answer, no. Question. What happened after Matt helped you get your clothes back on? Answer, he helped me get dressed and brought me out to a vehicle and told me he would take me to my friends. Question. At this point in time, had you seen Nikki since you parted ways at the gas station? Answer, no. Question. Had you seen Chris since you parted ways at the gas station? Answer, no. Question. Other than Matt and Kellan, and perhaps the people you remember holding a camera, did you see anybody else in the house that night? Answer, no. Question. Now, after Matt helped you get your clothes on, do you remember leaving the house? Answer, yes. Question. Do you remember what type of car he drove? Answer. What I remember while sitting in the car was seeing a BMW emblem on the steering wheel. Question. At this point, was Matt helping you? Answer. Yes. Question. Did he say anything to you about what had happened? Answer. He just asked me if I felt like I'd been raped. Question. When he asked you if you felt like you had been raped, do you remember if you responded? Answer. I was just crying hysterically. Question. When you say you were crying hysterically, were you still emotional based on what happened? Answer. Yes. Question. Did he ask you more than once? Answer. Yes. Question. How many times would you say he asked you if you had been raped? Answer. 3. Do you ever remember if you said anything back to him? Answer. No. Question. Where did you go once Matt was driving you away from this house? Answer. We met up with Nicole and Chris. Question. Do you remember where you went when you met up with Nicole and Chris? Answer. No. Question. Do you remember how it was that either you or Matt had contacted Nicole and Chris? Answer. No. Question. Once you met up with them, were you still alone in the car with Matt? Answer. Yes. Question. Was there anyone else that met up with you other than Nicole and Chris? Answer. No. Question. Tell us what happened once you met up with them. Answer. Matt carried me from Nicole, or from his car, into Nicole's car. Question. And that was Nicole's Ford Explorer? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you remember where he put you? Answer, in the front passenger seat. Question, is Matt a pretty big guy? Answer, tall guy. Question, was he as big as Kellan? Answer, as tall as Kellan, not as width-wise. Question, now, when Matt and Chris and Nicole met with you at this location, I know you don't recall where it was, but when you met together, do you remember Chris saying anything in that moment? Answer, asking what happened. Question, did you see a conversation between Matt and Chris? Answer, yes. Question, did you see Matt talking and telling Chris what had happened? Answer, not specifically. Question, do you remember what Chris said in response in that moment when they were having that discussion? Answer, this would destroy his career. Question, when you heard that, were you being carried into the car or were you already in the car? Answer, I was already in the car. Question, and when I say the car, we're referring to Nicole's Ford Explorer? Answer, yes. Question, what happened after you heard that exchange, that conversation between Matt and Chris? Answer, they left and Nicole got into her vehicle. Question, where did you and Nicole go? Answer, back to her home. Question, you mentioned that you had been crying hysterically in Matt's car. Can you describe your demeanor when you were with Nicole? Answer, just crying and telling her I told him to stop. Question, did she ask you any questions if you remember? Answer, she asked me what happened and all I could say was, I told him to stop. Question, where did you go with Nicole? Answer, to her home. Question, what did you do once you got there? Answer, I took a shower. Question, when you were in this state afterwards, were you feeling the effects of alcohol still, or were you just upset based on what happened? Just upset with what just happened. Question, do you remember having any further conversation with Nicole that night, other than you telling her that you kept telling him to stop? Answer, no. Question, do you know if Nicole knew who you were referring to when you were saying, I told him I was telling him to stop? Answer, yes. Question, how do you know that? Answer, because she saw me leave with them, so maybe her assumption was that it was with that individual. Question, based on your conversation with her in that moment, that's what you took it to mean, right? Answer, yes. Question, now when you slept over at Nicole's house, do you remember talking to her about what had happened the next day? Answer, no. Question, now going forward from this time, did you call the police in 2003 to report what Mr. Winslow had done? Answer, I did not. Question, why didn't you call the police? Answer, a 17-year-old drinking underage. I had slept with him 2 weeks prior. I didn't think anybody would believe anything I had to say. Question, now other than having met him and knowing him as Kellan, did you know anything about what he was doing or where he was going to school during that time? Answer, no. Question, when Chris made the comment, this will ruin his career, did you know what that meant at that point? Answer, the next couple days I found out who he was, who his father was, and what he was up to. Question, when you say who he was, did you know that he was a college football player? Answer, at the time I didn't, but afterwards I did. Question, did you know that his father had been a professional football player as well? Answer, at that time when I found out, yes. Question, and you're saying that that's after the sexual assault? Answer, yes. Question, did that factor into why you chose not to call the police? Answer, yes. Question, why? Answer, because why would anyone believe some girl that got drunk to who his father is, this, well-known man who's been in the NFL and the Hall of Fame and a pristine, person? Why would his son do something so disgusting? Why would anybody believe me? Question, Other than talking to Nicole about what had happened, did you tell anybody else here in San Diego before moving to Hawaii? Answer, no. Question, why not? Answer, because I think nobody would have believed me. They would have, you know, in your mind, you kind of like, did you allow yourself to go in that situation? Question, is that how you felt? Answer, yes. Question, and then going forward, did you in fact move to Hawaii just a few weeks later? Answer, yes. Question, do you remember what the time of month in July of 2003 that you moved away? Answer, I know it was after 4th of July. Question, when you had relocated to Hawaii, did you maintain any contact with any of your friends in San Diego? Answer, Nicole. Question, how is it that you stayed in contact with Nicole? Answer, through phone calls, text messages. Question, as you began to grow older, did your relationship with Nicole, you know, as friends from high school, did that actually fade away a little bit? Answer, yes. Question, once you grew older and you met your husband, fair to say that you didn't keep in close of contact with her? Answer, yes. Question, now in terms of people that you've spoken to about what had happened, did you ever tell anyone other than Nicole from then until June of 2018 about what had happened? Answer, yes. Question, did you speak to a person by the name of Brandon Guillermo about what had happened? Answer, yes. Question, who is Brandon Guillermo? Answer, an ex-boyfriend of mine. Question, when was it that you were in a relationship with Brandon Guillermo? Answer, we started dating at the end of 2003, the summer of 2003. Question, at this point in time, were you still 17 years old or had you turned 18? Answer, I had turned 18. Question, did you meet him in Hawaii when you were living there? Answer, yes. Question, can you just tell us about that relationship and how it led to you talking to him about what happened? Answer, we eventually moved in with one another, and he woke me up because I was screaming and crying, because I was having flashbacks of what happened between myself and Kellan and the individuals. Multiple times he's had to shake me to wake me up. Question, now if you started this relationship with him at the end of 2003, do you recall specifically when it was that you had moved in with him and you had these flashbacks where he would have to wake you up? Answer, I'd say like January is when it started. Question, would that be January of 2004? Answer, yes. Question, so still within about 7 months of when the event actually happened? Answer, yes. Question, now when you say that you were having flashbacks and he'd wake you up because you were screaming, do you remember what it was that you told him about what had happened? Answer, I just explained to him that somebody had assaulted me back home. Question, do you know if you used that word assaulted or another word to describe it? Answer, somebody raped me. Question, do you remember what word you said? Answer, rape. Question, do you remember if you told him who had done that? Answer, I don't remember saying his name. Question, you don't remember? Answer, I don't remember. Question, now other than that one time when he had spoken to you, other than that one time when he had spoken up while you were having flashbacks while asleep, did you have any other conversations with him about what happened to you with Mr. Winslow? Answer, no. Question, is that your best memory? Answer, yeah. Question, other than speaking with Mr. Guillermo about what had happened, did you tell anyone else about what Mr. Winslow had done to you? Answer, my husband. Question, when was it that you first met your husband? Answer, in 2011. Question, in terms of the time when you spoke to him about what happened, can you tell us that context? Answer, I'm sorry? Question, when was it, as you best recall, when you told your husband about what Mr. Winslow had done to you? Answer, it was in 2012. Question, if you met him in 2011, were you in a pretty serious relationship at the time of 2012? Answer, yes. Question, did you feel like you could confide in him? Answer, yes. Question, can you tell us how it was that this conversation came up? Answer, just, like being in a new relationship, people look at things sexually, want to know what their partners like, dislike. A conversation had come up. Have you ever thought about partners or groups or anything like that? And I freaked out and told him, no. He's like, it was just a question. It's not something I'm into. It's just something, we want to get to know one another. And I told him no, and I freaked out. And he's like, what's the deal? What's your problem? And that's when I started crying, and I told him what had happened in 2003. Question. Do you remember when you told your husband about what had happened in 2003? What words you used to describe what had happened? Answer. I explained to him that, not like, I don't know, how do I say this? That I was taken advantage of while I was under the influence. That somebody penetrated me or had sex with me without my acknowledgement or without my consent, or allowed somebody to videotape me because that is not something that I want in my life, or find pleasurable, or I think is okay. Question. Do you remember if you told him who had done that to you? Answer. I want to say I said his name, but I don't fully remember. Question. Now going forward from when you had that conversation with your husband, did he ask you any follow-up questions, or did you have any additional conversations other than that one time? Answer. No. Question. Now I want to talk to you about what it was that led you to report this incident to the Sheriff's Department. In June of 2018, other than speaking to your husband and your boyfriend about what had happened, had you disclosed this to anyone else? Answer. No. Question. Did you ever report it to law enforcement between 2003 and June of 2018? Answer. No. Question. In June of 2018, did you receive some information from the news about a pending criminal prosecution against Mr. Kellen Winslow? Answer. Yes. Question. How was it that you came across that information? Answer. Through Snapchat. You could see there's like different snaps through people you follow on Instagram or Facebook. I follow the San Diego Tribune on Snapchat, so all of a sudden I see his face and I freak. I click on it and I'm just like, no way. I start crying, I start thinking about what happened, and that's how I knew or saw anything about Kellan. Question. When you say you came across this on Snapchat, was it a news article that was covering the fact that Mr. Winslow had been arraigned on criminal charges involving sexual assault? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you read that Union Tribune article that had been published after his arraignment on June 15th of 2018? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you remember when specifically you saw the article in relation to June 15th of 2018? Answer. I don't remember the specific date. Question. You mentioned that you freaked. Did you become emotional after seeing that article? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you think back to what had happened to you? Answer. Yes. Question. Were you still living in North Carolina with your husband and two children? Answer. Yes. Question. When that happened and you saw that article, did you talk to anybody about it? Answer. Nicole. Question. Is that Nicole Edwards? Answer. Yes. Question. So if your relationship with Nicole had faded and you weren't in as frequent of contact with her, how did you reach out to Nicole? Answer. Through Instagram Messenger. Question. And what did you do when you reached out to Nicole? Answer. I had taken a screenshot of the article and sent it to her. Question. When you sent her a screenshot of the article, why did you do that? Answer. Because I know she knew. Question. What do you mean by that? Answer. I knew she would know how I felt. Question. And when you reached out to her via Instagram Messenger, did you tell her how you were feeling in that moment? Answer. Yes. Question. Was this the first time that you had spoken about it other than the times that you've already mentioned with Mr. Guillermo and your husband? Answer. Yes. Question. Why was it that you felt the need to reach out to Nicole and send her that article and tell her how you were feeling? Answer. Because she's my person, Even though you're so far from one another, may not have talked in years, may not have seen your kids, she's still that person that's going to know how you felt or saw how you felt. Question. Now, when you sent her that article, did she respond to you? Answer, she did. Question. Other than telling her how you felt, did she tell you that she remembered? Answer, yes. Question. Did you in fact after you spoke to her about it, did you tell her about how this was impacting you in that moment after seeing that he had been arraigned on sexual assault charges? Answer, yes. Question. Were you still emotional thinking about what had happened to you? Answer, yes. Question. Do you need a moment? Answer, no, I'm okay. Question. When you were feeling that way and you were communicating with her on Instagram Messenger, did you talk to her about why you never said anything? Yes. Answer, yes. Question. Did that factor into how you were feeling in that moment that ultimately led to you reporting this to law enforcement? Answer, yes. Question. And when you were talking to her, was she responding to you about what she recalled? Answer, not fully. She just said she wished we would have said something at the time. Question. Now, other than speaking to Nicole on this Instagram messaging conversation, did you talk to your husband about how you were feeling after seeing the news? Answer, I did. Question. And can you just describe how that conversation went? Answer, same thing. Told him I was freaking out. I can't believe this is happening. Just feeling completely overwhelmed, crying. And his reply back to me was like, you need to tell your story. Question. When your husband began to encourage you to come forward, did Nicole also encourage you to come forward? Answer, yes. Question. Other than those two, did you talk to anybody about what had happened? Answer, no. Question. And this is in the time frame of June 2018? Answer, correct. Question. Did you, in fact, make a decision to contact the Sheriff's Department in San Diego? Answer, yes. Question. How is it that you did that? Answer. At the end of the article, it just says to contact, and I called the phone number that was listed. Question. Do you recall speaking with a sergeant by the name of James Emic after making initial contact with the Sheriff's Department? Answer, yes. Question. Do you remember when that was in relation to when you saw the article? Answer, it was like a couple days after. Question. And is that couple day time period, was that when you had the Instagram conversation with Nicole and then also the conversation with your husband? Answer, yes. Question. What was it about your husband's and Nicole's support that led you to call the Sheriff's Department? Answer. It actually wasn't even them, too. It was my kids. Question. What was it about your children that caused you to call the Sheriff's Department? Answer. I look at two innocent girls and never would want them to ever feel like they didn't have a voice, that it was not okay, and that it's okay to say no and to be able to speak up and tell their truths. Question. Now, when you contacted the Sheriff's Department and had this conversation with Sergeant Emic, that was over the phone? Answer, yes. Question. How long would you say it lasted? Answer, 20 minutes. Question. And when you were talking to him about what happened, were you attempting to describe as best you could what led up to what happened during the sexual assault? Answer. I tried to, but he also stated that I should not say specifics because it's over the phone. Question. Did he inform you that he would arrange for a follow-up interview? Answer. Yes. Question. Did he give you any details about how that would happen? Answer. He said that it would either be him or yourself would have contacted me. Question. And when you're saying yourself, are you referring to me being a member of the District Attorney's Office? Answer. Yes. Question. And were you in fact interviewed at your home on July 6th of 2018? Answer. Yes. Question. And was that with me and District Attorney Investigator Chris Phelan and District Attorney Investigator Kathy Pierce? Answer, yes. Question, and how long would you say we sat down together to talk about what happened? Answer, a few hours. Question, was that interview recorded? Answer, yes. Question, I'm going to show you a series of exhibits that have been marked Courts Exhibits 154, 155, 156, and 157. Beginning with the first, do you recognize what those are? Answer, yes. Question, what are they? Answer, these are the messages between myself and Nicole. Question, and when you say the messages, are these the actual Instagram Messenger communications that you sent to her after seeing the news article? Answer, yes. Question, now did that conversation begin on June 18th of 2018? Answer, yes. Question, and did that begin with a text message from you being sent to her with a link to the news article that you were referring to in your testimony? Answer, yes. Question, showing you first Courts 154 for identification. Looking to the left, did you in fact take screenshots of that messenger conversation where you then provided them to the District Attorney's Office to show the conversation you had with Nicole Edwards? Answer, yes. Question, are these those screenshots, at least the first two? Answer, yes. Question, looking at the left, do you see the date of June 18th, 2018? Answer, yes. Question, and then do you see the link to the article which states, complaint against Kellen Winslow II alleges 5 incidents including rape, and then it cuts off? Answer, yes. Question, did it have a photograph associated with that web page or that article? Answer, yes. Question, and did you recognize that as being Kellen Winslow? Answer, yes. Question, is this the article that you saw from the Union Tribune that caused you to be emotional? Answer, yes. Question, what was it that you said to Nicole Edwards when you sent her that text message and that link? Answer, like it says here, I am just saying he deserves, sorry, it's obviously weird, thing. I'm not sure what you remember, but because of him, I've gone through a lot of shit. Question, did you continue to send her messages about how you were feeling in that moment? Answer, yes. Question, what did you say? Answer, I never said anything because I thought it was always my fault, but I remember screaming no, and I just can't, Nikki. This is truly bringing me to tears and freaking me out. Question, how did Ms. Edwards respond to you? Answer, I do remember. Hated that we never said anything. I'm so glad that they finally got him. Question, what did you say to her after Nikki responded to you in that way? Answer, you have no idea the feelings I'm having right now. Question, and what did she say? Answer, I am so sorry. Question, what did you say back to her? Answer, thanks, Nikki, I just needed to share this with you. It just has been something that has messed me up for so long. Question, and how did she respond? The court, by the way, if there's any mention of your name in these, don't state your name. Mr. Owens, thank you, Your Honor. Question. Now moving ahead to Court's Exhibit 155, which contains the entirety of the text message beginning at the top left. What was your response to Nikki after she said that? Answer, that's actually Nicole's response, the top left. Question. Now in terms of the communication that you then had with Ms. Edwards, did you continue to describe how you were feeling in that moment? Answer, yes. Question, and were there things that Ms. Edwards was saying back to you that prompted further disclosure about how you were feeling? Answer, yes. Question, now in terms of that conversation, did that factor into why it was that you then came forward to law enforcement? Answer, yes. Question, did she say such things to you as, you need to tell your story? Answer, yes. Question. Did you then tell her certain things in response to what she was telling you about why you were willing to come forward and talk to the police? Answer. Yes. Question. What was it that you told her about why you were willing to come forward and talk to the police? Do you recall specifically? Question. Can you ask the question again? Question. Would it refresh your recollection to refer to that text message conversation regarding that specific question of what you told her that led to why you wanted to come forward? Yes. And speak to the police? Sorry. Question. Just read that to yourself, not out loud, and let me know if that's refreshed your recollection. Answer. Yes. Question. What was it that you recall telling Ms. Edwards about why it is that you were going to come forward to the police? Answer. Because I need closure. Question. Did you tell her that this was still affecting you? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you tell her that your husband was encouraging you? Answer. Yes. Question. How did she respond to you in that moment when you told her that you were going to come forward? Answer. She said, I agree and I support you. Mr. Owens. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we go ahead and take a break right now? Do you need a break, Stephanie?
That would be great.
I would think so. Okay. Why don't we take a 10-minute break? You want to take a break outside or in a jury room? Outside? Okay, so we'll head outside. We'll be in recess for 10 minutes. Remember the admonition. We'll see you back here in 10 minutes.